welcome to this panel. This panel will be around the Web3 and defining. We will start our questions from defining the success in the Web3 world. That will be our first question for the panel. So, in the context of the Web3 projects and organizations, how do you define success beyond metrics such as user numbers or market cap? So, with this question, I'll start from you. I think I'll start from the top here. So please go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Should I do an introduction for myself first, or?
Yeah. You can please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. This is Yilan from CyberConnect. CyberConnect is the decentralized social network protocol. We've been working on the social graph part since 2021, and for now there are two main parts of our protocol. The first part is the social graph, as I mentioned. We're one of the biggest in terms of users, and also in terms of like ecosystem projects. And the second part is something we're working on recently. Is the AA Smart Account Wallet. We're also right now one of the largest smart account systems in the world in terms of active accounts numbers. Basically, what we think about these two parts, putting together, is that will be the two central pieces of, the mass adoption of the real Web3. Getting people onto Web3 without the barriers of switching network, complexities, but also, immediately giving the use cases to the users so they can, explore and have fun and on Web3. Back to the question about the success, right?
Yeah. So success on Web3 beyond metrics. Yeah.
I think we're at a very, very good timing and also very good location right now to talk about this, because we were just talking about this right before the panel as well. So if we're thinking about blockchain or crypto, it's actually something very unprecedented. Now we have the technology to really bring a lot of benefits to the real people across the world, and that's the time we can really democratize the access to financing, access to all kinds of data ownership. If we're thinking about that, if we're thinking about the starting point with blockchain or crypto, it's all about the people, and so that's where we think if we're only working on blockchain technology within the circle, it's not going to be enough. So the only way we can talk about success is that it's by the time when we can bring the technology and the benefits to the mass people, and we're talking about developing countries and not just in the developed ones. I would say when we are ready to bring that will be the case for success.
Sure. And I'll ask the same question for Tony. Tony is the Chief Legal Officer for SumSub, which is proudly also used in Binance compliance. So please go ahead, Tony, with the same question.
Yeah, I'm a lawyer. That's why I'm in Smart Suit, probably the only person in the audience. That's a very good question. I think I would totally agree with what has been said already, because we have been discussing this exactly before the panel. I think the adoption part is very important. For example, in Brazil, where I live, there is a system called PIX. It's a fiat-based system, and the rate of adoption that PIX has in Brazil is 90-something%. It's almost the whole population. I take my son from school and I can pay with PIX for popcorn on the corner. So it's a very important element, of course. And here, of course, the element of identity is very important. The identity is the first and the last thing that we have. When you have a system that can handle identity verification correctly, that's a very important element of adoption part. And of course, the second part I would mention probably is beliefs in something. I guess that's very important for Web3, because here you have all these tokens that are specified by the person's aspirations or beliefs. Like somebody, for example, wants to do some baseball cards. Someone wants to communicate with sports clubs or something like that, right? What Chiliz is doing. It's all about beliefs. It's all about people's aspirations. Well, the thing that I'm obsessed with is identity again. So what I'm waiting, I'm excited about this is identity-bound tokens, and this will be also, for example, a good example of success in Web3. I'm sure about that. So these things are, I think, very, very important. By the way, I don't understand like why, for example, if we're talking about Web3 projects that are so much based on beliefs, that the tokens are classified as securities by some authorities, and that we all know, because it's like the same thing as classify, for example, a church as a financial institution. You know, it would be also quite fun.
Please go ahead, Alex.
I will jump first about Pix, actually. So Pix is a payment method the biggest payment method in Brazil. To show you how adoption works is that when someone wants to rob you in Brazil with a gunpoint, they don't ask you for money anymore. They check your phone, they check if you have the Pix app, and they're actually transferring money out of it. So Pix had some protection that even if you delete the app from your phone when you drive, you can, as soon as you reinstall it, you cannot do any transfer for 24 hours or something like that. And that's crazy. But that's Brazil. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm the CEO of Chiliz and Socios. I hope there are a lot of Chiliz token holders and fan token here, because Turkey, as we all know, is our biggest market. The way we treat success, quote unquote, I don't think we are successful in our case. For example, I think we are very early. I don't like to call ourselves a Web3 company. I like to call ourselves a Web 2.2, Web 2.3 maybe. And as we know, I mean, at least in our case, we work with sports team, 80 plus. The question for us is, how do you balance the utility of the fan token or the tokens in general and the tradability of it? There are countries, Turkey is a good example, where tradability sometimes is higher than the utility. There are other countries like Italy where utility is higher than the tradability. And I think in crypto or in blockchain in general, the main question and the difficulty, it's not a question, it's the difficulty, is how do you balance the genuine usage of the asset or the protocol or the platforms you're building versus the one that will, I will not use the word abuse because it's not right, but that game, let's say, the product in a way that it was not necessarily designed at the beginning. Now, having said so, I usually like to say that trading is not a bug, it's a feature, meaning it is designed for that originally. But what will make success is when you will have people in the street talking to you about how they use the token, not because they made money, but because they use the token and use the utility. In our case, as we do fan tokens, it's all about what can a utility token can bring to a fan like you anywhere in the world. I'll give you one example that I love here in Turkey is fan token holders of, I'm not sure if it was Galatasaray or Trabzonspor, but were able to vote on what number the player is going to have on the jersey when they just signed this new player. Maybe a small thing for anybody who doesn't care, but for people who cares, it's very important. And so for us, the success is, or potential success in the future will be about confirming the fact that people use the utility more than they use it for the trading part.
That's a very good point, Alex. And with that, I'll go to the next question for us, and that is around the customer needs. So Web3 projects serve a spectrum of users with diverse needs, from institutional clients to retail users and the general public. So how does a project tailor its services to meet the distinct requirements of the target customer segments? And that I will start with you, Alex, because I think as a fan token, you get that.
So the thing is, I'll take UK as an example, interestingly, because there is a new regulatory framework in the UK from promotion of digital assets, especially. In UK, we had to adapt, improve, I will say, the platform to onboard users. But it became so painful that for a sports fan, we want to spend £5, €5, $10, whatever, you have to do your KYC, which is, okay, why not? But you also have to answer like 10 questions. Like literally, to spend €10, you're defined as an investor because it's a crypto asset. And the reason I'm saying that, it's regulation, and I know it's a topic for later, but we need to make sure we create platform, tools that are easy to onboard users. Everywhere in the world, especially here in Turkey, but more or less everywhere, on socios.com app, you come, you put your mobile phone, you check your mobile and your email, and then you do your credit card to up to €50, something like that, and you can already engage with the platform. If you want to trade, if you want to sell, then you have to go through a more complex KYC, even though it's for 50 euro. And I think one missing point to onboard users and in the upcoming regulation is a difference between a trading platform and a utility platform. And right now, unfortunately, everything that has a digital asset is in the same basket from a regulatory point of view and from requirements. And so that's going to be a threat in the future. But it's also an opportunity because we need to educate regulators about how you split the difference between these.
Definitely. And Yilan, do you have anything to add to the same question on the customer needs?
Yeah, of course. Like, at CyberConnect, we're working on social. Social is all about, people. When I was talking about people, it's not really ideological. Like as if we're, democratizing everything. But actually, social is all about, people interacting with each other. If we look back, into the history of internet or the web, when the web got started, it was about a bunch of people coming together and trying to do something great. So they are trying to get over the barriers of the geographical or political or cultural language. So when we're thinking about addressing the problems of the social, it's always like what exactly are people needing from beyond the Web2 social that we're having right now. It's not just about the ownership. It's not just about self-sovereignty, but it's also about how exactly they can get connected better with each other, and that's exactly where Web3 can help. But CyberConnect as a protocol, we are dealing with two kinds of customers at the same time. One is like developers, because we're a protocol. We need to enable developers to come up with better experiences. But ultimately, through those experiences, we need to onboard the users to get to Web3, or maybe like they don't have to know they are into Web3, but they can with the Web 2.5 approach. But ultimately, they need to come here to enjoy the social experiences. So the way we do that is that by providing the infrastructure to the developers, and we are doing the ecosystem growth and ecosystem development with the grants, with all kinds of projects. But at the same time, we're trying our own product at the same time. Like using the product to get feedback from the real community, from the real market, so we can keep modifying and upgrading our protocols, so we can also channel that information to the developers, so they can build better experiences and better applications to the users ultimately.
Definitely. Thank you. And Tony, please go ahead.
Yeah, I would probably continue what Alex was talking about. He was talking about KYC, which is reasonable. Why I would continue. This is a very good approach. How to approach this question, I think, is that that's why we at a certain moment we came up with the idea of what is called shared KYC, which is the idea that you have, for example, a trading platform, you have a utility platform, you have other players, and they're all friends between each other, and so they don't want to share their clientele between each other, but they want to use the opportunities of each of the platforms in terms of KYC in order to not to ask the same question all over and over again, right? To any customer. And so the idea of shared KYC is basically that, yeah, you have verification company, for example, SumSub. It can be other company, and it verifies the user one time. It provides him some kind of a voucher or something like that. That this person is good, this person is that person, and this person, for example, is a good investor, something like that. And this information is just shared. So, but otherwise, I agree. That's very complicated. It's a very complicated story how to approach different types of customers.
Thank you, Tony. And the next question will start from you because you're the lawyer of this panel. So our next question will be around operating within a regulated framework. So success ultimately will mean dealing with all the regulatory challenges, operating in a compliant manner, as we all know, as we all agree, as we don't challenge. How does your work entail working within a regulated framework to enhance your product chances of success?
Yeah, we are right now living in the world which is becoming more and more fragmented in terms of regulations, especially onboarding regulations. For example, in Europe, you have like EIDAS regulations that should be like one window for the whole Europe, but in the reality, you have many regulators in Europe that are coming up with their own regulations in terms of non-face-to-face identification. That's one side. On the other side is the technologies, frictions, the the aspirations of clients, what they want, what they consider a comfortable flow for verification, et cetera, et cetera. That's why KYC is becoming more and more complicated. I would probably just refer you to we have made a crypto report quite recently. You can find it on our website or whatever. So it just provides you exactly the examples how the verification works country by country. But yeah, as I said, it's becoming more and more complicated. I remember the time, like maybe 5 years ago, when we were approaching like this company or that company, like how would you do KYC? And they were like, oh, we have in-house KYC. Now, of course, this doesn't work like that. Like you cannot do it in-house, at least in order to do it on a good level.
Thank you. Yilan, please go ahead. Your comments on the regulated framework of trading.
Yeah, I would say for CyberConnect or for social right now, it's not as like urgent as other like DeFi such as. But I was like one key point, but we're in a very interesting position right now. Like if we're thinking about social, in the real world, like there's not that much of a compliance issue there, so to speak. But at the same time, it's hugely censored, it's hugely controlled. But the promise of Web3 exactly is about going beyond that kind of control and censorship. But how do we deal with that? When we're talking about mass adoption, like ultimately we're going in conflict or maybe in convergence with the real world, with the government. But I would say exactly when we're talking about KYC, that's exactly also the point. Like by social, I mean you have your identity online, in your digital, world, and you go around, you don't have to fill up the forms all the time. So you have something that really represents you better. But that's the point where we see a lot of things we work together with the compliance, with the regulatory, organizations.
Definitely. And I'm sure yeah, definitely. And I'm sure Alex has something to say about compliance framework.
I mean, so you have to see regulation as an opportunity rather than a threat. At Chiliz and Socios, we are very lucky because before doing what we are doing right now, we did 10 to 12 years of online gaming, I should say online gambling, online poker, sports betting, etc. And that was first non-regulated and then became regulated in different countries, in Europe and outside of Europe. So when we created Chiliz and Socios, we actually were already built as a mentality as a regulated entity, which changed everything for us because we built ourselves, our platform, our tools, knowing that one day we will be today and one day we will be in 2 years as well in the way we need to do the things. So we were prepared, and that's where I think sometimes there is a gap between, and I will say a weird word, naive decentralization, utopia, or everything is free, versus the reality of the pragmatism of what is the real life when you actually move money. And there is a gap there between entrepreneur and even developers. And the right spot is probably in the middle, but in the middle closer to the white side and not to the dark side. And that's going to be a challenge for a lot of projects. And there are also a lot of initiatives that may never going to be able to take off because they will never be compatible with a regulatory framework. And that's sad. But there is a reason. There is a reason why regulatory framework are needed sometimes.
That's true. That's definitely the case. And I will connect that question to the next one. That's a key one. That's the relationship between the blockchain businesses and exchanges. So you know.
So weirdly, we are probably the company or a group of companies that has issued the most amount of tokens that are listed on major exchange. Binance being the biggest one, of course, but not only. I'm not going to say it's a love-hate relationship, but it's not always a love-love relationship for sure, because an exchange need versus a utility token need is not always the same. We want to provide utility, exchange needs in general, trading volume, price action, whatever. And so you always need to find a balance for that.
Sure.
You also need, I'd say, an exchange chase, rightfully, the next trend, while me, as a selfish entrepreneur working in what we are doing, I don't want any more token listed on Binance. I don't want any new tokens, any new meme, any new project whatsoever, because the more tokens, the less liquidity, and the more distraction, and the more the money is spread over all of these tokens. So as a selfish person, I don't want that. Yet, to grow an industry, you do need more initiative. The only thing I'm worried about, actually, but you can see most of the exchanges cleaning up a little bit the house. You can see some of the dead so-called project and tokens being delisted, etc. It's actually a healthy process because unlike traditional finance, where when something doesn't work, it disappears. In crypto, it doesn't disappear. It stays there. You're a bag holder, it's listed, people will still trade, and there is a guy who's going to pump it and is going to make you believe that it still exists. So the challenge, and I don't have the answer for that, it's for exchanges to become a filter, theoretically. But when you get listed as a company, as an equity, as a securities on the NASDAQ, there is a filter process. When you go on Binance, there is a massive filter process. I used to say that the two biggest exchange that are doing their best due diligence are Binance and Upbit, by far. And I said that we are listed on 25 exchanges. But the thing is it the role of an exchange to say if you are good or bad? Is it the role of an exchange to tell retail users that you are good or bad? I don't know. An exchange should be neutral, and that's going to be the challenge.
Definitely, that's definitely going to be a challenge. And Yilan, I have a follow-up question on the same subject for you. What role exchanges play in supporting Web3 projects and building the communities and infrastructures to projects to tap the potential?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no point really to deny that, exchanges or, trading or crypto, that's how, we got here, how we got here with this, mass audience down there. But at the same time, also, it's definitely a love, kind of relationship because, it's all about, different kinds of love, about the blockchain whole industry. For a project and for us, as a social project, we are talking about users and coming to, to Web3 to benefit from the Web3 social. They come here for the experiences, they come here for the benefits. But also at the same time, there will be a lot of people coming for the financial, gains, for the speculative and also the trading part of it. And that's not a problem because, we see it time again that when people get to know CyberConnect, through the token, and coming to become a part of the core community, and then they will be converted into core users or core contributors to the whole Web3 ecosystem. So obviously, we're talking about different kind of audiences, but we see a convergence of the audience, coming together, and it's a great timing now because we see Binance doing that, exactly the same, we're moving all kinds of traders back to into the Web3 and become a real on-chain contributors.
Yeah, thank you for acknowledging that. That was a lot of hard work there, but we did it. So Tony, again, the follow-up question for you on the same theme, and that is, what advice do you give to Web3 projects out there when it comes to working with exchanges and other key players in blockchain ecosystem?
For me?
Oh no, it's for Tony. That one is for Tony. So what advices would you give to Web3 projects when it comes to working with exchanges?
I think the key problem that we see, again, from our identity perspective right now, I guess, is the whole idea of decentralization. I think that is a big challenge at the moment because many projects, for example, again, we have friends amongst these projects. They are coming to us and asking questions like, should we be considered as a decentralized project, for example, or centralized project? We have some team, we have some legal entity in Zug, in Switzerland, for example, but at the same time, we have absolutely free-flowing token that is mined and it just doesn't work as a centralized token or something like that. That's a big problem because right now I guess the regulators are unable to answer this question themselves, and at the same time they're setting traps to decentralized teams because basically they're saying you need to decide yourself whether you are decentralized or not. If you're not, then just be careful. So yeah, I would say that this is a big challenge, and it's unresolved yet. I think it's $1 billion question.
Definitely. And with that, I want to thank the panel. I know it's almost lunchtime. I want to thank the audience too. So thank you, Yilan. Thank you, Tony. And thank you, Alex. And hope to see you in the next Blockchain Week.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.